So what happens when we have both sides of a transaction? We've talked about how to enter a transaction, and we went over the buyer side of things. Let's approach it that, say, Oscar, the buyer in this transaction, his brother Ernest wants to buy the house across the street, and that happens to be listed by one of our agents. So what happens here, and how do we get all this information to paperless? Okay, let's go back and create the new transaction that the listing agent should have created for 124 Sesame Street. Okay, and we'll say that MLS number is 10001. Okay, so the status on this would be a residential listing. Okay, no label needed at this point. There's nothing interesting going on there, so no label needed. And when you enter a listing, there is no close date. It's a listing. You don't know anything about that yet. Listing date, you know, could be, let's say we listed it Friday. Okay, so at this point there's no buyer name, the seller name, we'll say Bert. Okay, and the list price, listed it for the same that Big Bird did. Okay, and in this case we will have the listing agent be Winston. Okay, so this is how you add a listing. Okay, there's not as much information to be had. There's no closing date yet. There's no contract yet, so you don't have some of this information. But what we do have is a checklist. And what I have in here is the listing to sale checklist. Okay, so you still want that MLS listing for the property. You need your listing agreement, and you need the property disclosure. Is there lead paint? Do we need flood insurance? There are some of these things that just need to be when you've got a listing, any way you look at it. I have included the ratified contract in here. As far as a listing goes, that's wishful thinking, right? Except that Oscar's brother Ernest has decided he wants this house. And so what has to happen here? Well, as the selling agent, I still would not be entering this into paperless because this is already a transaction in paperless. This property with this MLS number is already in here. So it would be up to Winston to go in and edit this transaction. Whenever there's something to add to a transaction, you edit. And so we're going to go in, and because we have been back and forth and we've come to a deal and there's a ratified contract, it's no longer a listing. Now we have a listing under contract, and he's going to put seller pending. Okay, because the seller has now changed the status. Now there's a listing and it's under contract. Okay, so let's say the close date is the same as Big Bird's place. Okay, buyer name is Ernest the Grouch. Okay, and again we'll say the sale price is 100. That keeps the math easy for me. Let's see, what we need actually is the total commission, and that will be $6,000 because both sides are going to be getting 3%. So you can say 3% and 3% unless something else is going on. Okay, so the selling agent, then you add whoever the Winston will be adding whoever the selling agent is. In this case, we'll call that me. And now you'll notice both of our information is in there. We have all the information up here. It's nicely filled out. Don't worry about that commission. What that means is that's all the commission that United Real Estate will be seeing in this deal. When it comes time for closing, I will be looking at everything and assigning it properly and distributing it properly, which is also where this commission summary helps if perhaps some deal was struck with the seller. So I need to know how to distribute. Okay. uploading documents. Okay, in this case, when you want to upload something, let's say this ratified contract right here. Honestly, both sides will be seeing that. Everybody has seen the contract. So the listing agent may choose to list it under that, and then you upload it from there. Now the buyer agent can also upload it as well. What happens here is anything that is uploaded under listing docs, only the listing agent can see. So if there is something that you want to have as part of these documents uploaded, but you don't necessarily need the other side to see, put it under listing docs, because that means that only the listing agent and the admins can see this. The same applies to buyer. If there's anything somewhat sensitive that you just don't feel needs to be public knowledge, although the vast majority of the documents within a transaction will be seen and signed by both parties, this still makes it possible for you to have some privacy. Okay, but the same thing will apply. They will then be reviewed, and then I will check the boxes off as need be. Okay, so and I will make sure that there's not a lot of duplication. I will delete what needs to be deleted, that sort of thing. But notice for this listing, there's a property disclosure that you as a listing agent will have your client sign. But then once it's under contract, we'd like to see it signed by the buyer as well. So go ahead and upload another version of it, or if the buyer agent, once the buyer agent has been added to the transaction, the buyer agent will be able to list that as well, to upload that. Okay, I hope this helps. Good luck.